And the man in charge of driving those negotiated outcomes is, of course, the EU's trade chief. Maroš Šefčovič says he's keeping faith with the United States, although he has added EU qualities are finding fresh appreciation elsewhere.
I think that the whole world was surprised by these high tariffs, which of course we do not welcome. We've been very clear, and also I pass this message to my American counterparts, that these tariffs are unjust, they're unfair. We cannot accept them as they are, but at the same time we share a lot of commonalities. So we, as a closest ally and biggest traders, I mean, just for your information, our trade on annual basis is 1.6 trillion euros. I mean, it's massive trade. It's 30% of the global trade. So I am absolutely convinced that we should be able, as allies, strategic partners for decades, to find the solution to this problem, and this is what we are doing. Therefore, I offered to my counterparts 0 tariffs for cars, for industry. I was putting on the table the possibility, what can we do to work together on the common standards which would make it for our traders easier to trade. That I also highlighted that we are ready to talk about the deficit, but we have first to agree on what is the real level of deficit, because we have a difference of opinion how the services should be counted in or out.
Okay, on this, and we need to be detailed, because this is one thing that you cannot argue about or argue away. The US has a services surplus with the European Union. The European Union has a goods trade surplus with the United States. So if you use one to offset the other, you're looking at roughly 50 billion euros in deficit for the United States. And your proposition has been buy more LNG, buy more soybeans as an example, and then you can make up that 50 billion. But you've had the US president himself come out to say he believes the deficit is 350 billion US dollars. That's very different from 50 billion euros. It's about 56 billion euros. Right. If you can't even reconcile such a basic number, how to reach any agreement?
That's a very good question. And therefore we are coming back to this number a lot. I mean, the first thing which is quite clear from, I would say, these hours we spent together with my American partners is the fact that they do not want to factor in the reality that they have significant surplus in services, more than 100 billion euros. So the figures which you very correctly mentioned a minute ago, they are the official figures of the European Statistical Office. It's not my figures, these are the figures which invite the dozens, if not hundreds of statisticians in European Union. And what I'm saying is that if our problem is the deficit of 50 billion euros comparing to 1.5, 1.6 trillion euros of the trade, that we should be able to solve it very, very quickly. I mean, there is a lot of things we are interested in. I was, in my previous mandate, responsible for energy security, for the energy union. I was organizing common purchase for gas supplies for all EU member states. And I know that we are very much interested in delivery of LNG for the European member states. And I know that our American partners are looking for investors.
Would you be prepared to go so far as to negotiate what trade advisor Peter Navarro has called non-tariff barriers? President von der Leyen has said these are sacrosanct, these are sovereign decisions. We will not negotiate on VAT, we will not negotiate on food standards. Could the EU move on that?
I cannot imagine, to be honest, because I think that, and I'm glad that my American partners are not referring that often to the VAT, because honestly, to accept the fact that that VAT, which is used by, I think, 160 countries in the world, is a non-tariff barrier, I think it's a little bit far-fetched. And then, of course, if it comes to the phytosanitary standards, I was discussing this with my American counterparts, and I think they're going in the same direction, more or less to have less chemicals in the food, because it's healthier. But are we having the non-tariff barriers because we have very difficult approval process if you are exporting a new type of the car to the United States, or vice versa? Can we make it smoother? Can we make it faster? Can we use each other labs? Can we start the work on, let's say, common standards or mutual recognition agreements for industrial machines, for example? All this we are, of course, ready to look at. The whole world is kind of looking how to grasp this new situation, how to address it, and therefore my stop. Therefore my phone is not is ringing all the time, because in Europe they see somebody who is predictable. Sometimes we are told that we are maybe too slow, too legalistic, but I think in this volatile world this is actually an advantage, because I mean, you know what you get. Once we sign an agreement with you, we respect it. We treat you fairly, and you know in what kind of framework you operate. I think it sends very important signal that the global trade is important for economy, it's important for jobs, it's important for also sustainability, and therefore we'll do our utmost to champion for the fair global trade also in the future.